All right, guys. So today's session is going to be the practical part of what we have been talking about Microsoft 365 from the very beginning of this training, the virtual meetup. So, like our regular practice, I'm going to bring up my paint to the screen. Excuse me, I needed to bring up paint. Okay, so I'm going to drag this here. So this is you, an IT staff of an organization, and then you are having a rapport with your HR. So the session we are going to be having today is user onboarding in Microsoft 365. So you're going to be onboarding users. So let's say that you are in IT. This is your organization, right? And then in this organization, you have departments, obviously. So you have departments, and then your department as IT people is here, and then the HR department is here. So let's now say that HR is having like a conversation with you who is in IT. So what's going to happen is HR is going to send you a mail to say, hey, people are resuming in the organization and there are 4 users. So I want to also show you how to use Copilot today to like make what we want to do like very, very smooth. So now HR department, let's just indicate it right away. We are doing user onboarding. Onboarding. I hope I'm getting it correctly. In M365. So this is the exercise that we are doing, and this is HR department, or maybe yeah, let's say HR department, and then this is IT department here, IT department. So what happens in organization is that people resume, and that process that people are resuming is called and then they are telling you in IT to create account for them. It's called user provisioning, right? It's called user provisioning. And at this stage of our conversation, you are speaking the language of HR, so you call it user onboarding. So the account creation at this stage is where you bring in the user's detail that is required for the user to be in that organization. So having said that, the HR is sending you a mail. This is the mail from HR to IT with the names of the people that are resuming. So you who is sitting here, once you get that mail, then you action based on what HR is asking you to do. Let's say these people that are resuming, there are 3 users, right? Let's just say 3, just to keep things brief. And out of these 3 users, you have like people resuming in accounting department. You have people resuming, somebody resuming in project management department, and then another one resuming in legal. So you have one in legal department resuming in legal. Then you have accounting, and then you have I just call the last one. Let's just say asset management, or we call it facility. Right? These are the three. These 3 people are resuming, and they are both in this department. And then yes, they have names, but we only at this point, just so we don't waste a lot of time explaining this, we just know that we have people resuming, and they are of these 3 departments. Now HR send you that mail. Let's not even give them names right now. Let's say the guy resuming in legal is Benjamin Ojo, just to keep it brief. The person resuming in accounts is Chidima Ojuku, and then the person resuming in facility is um, Bamidele Oga, something, right? It's not really important. We just want to be having something tied to this. So HR is sending you like an Excel sheet via email to say, hey, people are resuming. One person is illegal, and then the name is Benjamin Ojo, and then their resumption date is going to be like on a particular date. So once you get that email in HR department, so what you do next is to try to say, okay, where do I so where, if you are using Microsoft 365, the question is, where do you create these accounts? And then we are talking about an organization that is just cloud-based only. So situations like this, you do not have on-premises environments. You are only working on the cloud, right? So that is the organization is just M365 that it uses. It does not have Windows Server arrangement and all of those synchronized identities. So it is just cloud-based users that we are talking about at this point. So when we go like right deep into some kind of things, we may be talking about hybrid-based identities and all of that. But right now we are talking about users who are just cloud only. So what we will do is to come to our browser. So like all of you should already be used to cmd.ms by now. So we'll have this come up, and then the next thing we'll do is, so we'll have two places where we can actually get these users created. But I will start from the M365 admin center first, right? So the point is that you would go and click on this. So if you click on that one that says admin.microsoft.com or admin.cloud.microsoft.com, you would definitely land here in the M365 admin center. So haven't gotten the mail from HR. So what is IT going to do? IT is going to sign into the M365 admin center, right? And then what happens is that you will come to, you won't see anything here regarding users. So you have to click on show all. Already we have treated roles, and last week we distinguished between roles and licenses. So the user who is to create these user accounts is usually the user administrator. So the user who create, I mean the admin who creates user accounts based on principle of what is called least privilege has to be a user administrator. So what that guy will do is he will see users, because this is like people resuming. So he will click on the drop down here. And then the next thing they want to do is to click on active users. So once he clicks on active users, the next thing they want to do is to go to add a user. So we want to keep it very brief and very straight to the point. Add a user. So what happens is that this guy would have to now say, okay, we will now go back to the Excel sheet that HR will send, and then they will see that there is somebody called Benjamin Ojo, and the guy is in the legal department. So he will come here and say Benjamin Ojo. So this is how it is. So Benjamin Ojo is a person's name. Okay. So once you click here, it will come up on the display name. Now, there are some things I have to explain to you here. So you can create a user without putting the first name and the last name, because here there is no asterisk to show that it is required. So you can go ahead and just leave the first name and the last name, and then come to display name and type in the display name of the user here. But it is usually not advised that you don't have the first name and the last name, even though it can still allow you pass, but it is required that you should indicate that the user's first name and last name is this. So what happens next is that the convention of your office now determines how you are going to put this one. So this one here is what is going to be called the username, or what is called the UPN. UPN stands for user principal name, right? Which most times serve as the email address of the user. So what you do is, most organizations will use like Benjamin.ojo, that is first name dot last name convention. That's what they call it. First name dot last name convention is Benjamin Ojo. So what you do is to copy this, Control C, and you paste it here. So it will be Benjamin now, because there is space. So it's saying that you can only add letters, numbers, and following special character, underscore, dash, single quotes, and period are not allowed. Why is it speaking all this language in red color? It is because here there is a space. So you kind of close out that space and you can put a dot. So that it will be benjamin.ojo at pillarscloud.com.ng. Now, this is domain. When we get to domain much later in our studies, we would come across the mvpbenefit.onmicrosoft.com. So by default, when I created this tenant, Microsoft had given me this domain, but I had to go and buy pillarscloud.com.ng from domain provider, which at this point I don't want you to even know. Just know that I am using a domain, which is this, and it means that this guy's email address at the end of this interaction is going to be benjamin.ojo at pillarscloud.com.ng. That's going to be the user's email address. Now, coming to the next thing that is here, you have two options. Either you want the system to automatically generate a password for you, or you want to require the user to, excuse me, either you want the system to automatically create the password for this user for you. You can leave this checked. Otherwise, you can uncheck it. And then if there are like password conventions in your organization, let's take for instance where all people are resuming and you want them to have like the same password first, and then when you are signing in they require all of you to change password. It is actually very useful when you have like a good number of persons resuming. You may just want to give them one particular password and then ask them to change it when they resume. So what happens is that you have that password, the same password that you are setting for Benjamin, for Chidima, and for Bamidele to be one particular password, but this will have to be checked. This will have to be checked so that it will require that the user to change their password when they first sign in. So what happens is that Bamidele, Chidima, and what's the other guy's name? Benjamin would be able to use that password that you are giving to them, that you are going to type here, to sign in. But as soon as they're able to sign in, they will be asked to change their password. But instances when you only have like two persons or three persons like this resuming, you may just want the system to generate password for you, right? But it is easier when you have like a lot of people resuming. You can say, okay, I can give them like the same password, right? If I give them the same password, so what I would do is I will say, okay, you are resuming. If your name is Benjamin and Ojo, you have to use your first name, benjamin.ojo, and then at pillarsconcept.cloud.ng. So I can tell them first name dot last name at pillarsconcept.com.ng, and your temporary password is password 123. But after entering your temporary password, then you have to now change it to the password that you are going to be making use of. So I want you to take note of that. So in our instance, the best thing I want us to do is to have the system generate the password for us automatically. And then we can ask the users to use that password to sign in. Or I would rather do this. I will just fix the password for them myself. So I will do this. Okay, so if I do this now, the password is strong enough, so it's accepted. It must contain small letter, capital letter, special character, and numbers, and there should not be less than 10 characters. Now, what happens next is if you want them to change their password upon first signing, of course, you have to leave this checked, which is fine. So you do next. So right now, this is where you decide to give the user license based off on where you want what access you already you know what license is now. So this is you can see that this is compulsory. The set location part is compulsory. It is defaulting to Nigeria because this tenant's base is in Nigeria. But of course, the company can be a Nigerian company but have branches across other parts of the world. So just in case the user is in maybe somewhere outside of Nigeria, I can decide to say, okay, the user is going to be resuming maybe in Greece or somewhere. I can try to fix this. But for now, we have these users resuming just in Lagos, Nigeria here. So we can leave them to be Nigeria. I mean, leave him to be Nigeria. And then the next thing we'll do is this is asking, do you want to give license? I'm just going to give it maybe I don't have, I'm out of this license M35E5 license. But let's say I want to give the user, I can create the user without, if I don't have license to give, or if it is not time for me to give the user licensing. Let's say, for example, the user is resuming on the 29th, and I don't have license to give to the user on 29th. I want it to fall into the billing cycle of the next month. I can create the user without product license. And then by next month on the first, I can now go ahead and buy license, because licenses are charged on monthly basis. And if my organization is running like a monthly cycle of first to 30th, then I just want to hold on and create the user without license first. But in our own case, let's say we are creating the user, we are giving him or her enterprise teams, and then we are giving him maybe we are giving Power Automate license. Let's just give only Power Automate. I know what I'm saying, so I don't want to be looking for where the license is hiding. So I have a lot of Power Automate license. I think I have 10,000 licenses here. So I'm giving him one. And then what are the applications that he has access to? Of course, I think we dealt with this all this last week. He's going to have access to common data service, and then the flow free. I mean the flow, the Microsoft Power Automate free. So now I'll do next, right? So at this point is where you see the rules, right? So if this user is going to carry out an IT role, but of course, if we look at the credential here, it's going to be in legal. So there's nothing that's taking him to, I mean, bringing him to having IT role, because roles that you see up here is speaking to like IT roles, right? That you can give to the user, but we don't need this user to have any admin rule. So we just leave him as user has no access to admin center. It's not compulsory. So the next point that is very important is here, because already you know that the guy is in legal department. So you want to fix the department here as legal. So now it depends on the role. I'm not sure if it's maybe advocate or something, advocate or something. You may want to put the job title. They depend on what you want, I mean, what your organization has told you. So also, if you want the other details, you can. But of course, the information that HR has provided to us in this case is just the department. In short, we're even the one that is putting the advocate, or that is if the department was, if the job title was not given, of course, you can just say the guy is in legal department, and that's just enough that you need. So you can do next. So if you do next, it's going to summarize like everything about the user for you, assigned setting, then display and user, then the name is this in display name, and the email address is going to be this. So the password is custom because I type in the password. So I customize the password. I can edit the password at this point. Then product license, I've only given this user is in Nigeria. And then the licenses I'm giving to him is Power Automate. And then he has, because he has Power Automate, the apps he has access to are the common data service and the flow free. Then coming here, the user has no role. So if I decide, oh, I want to give him like help desk admin, no, maybe as a as compliance administrator, there's a role called compliance administrator in data handling. I can decide to give him like compliance, since it's illegal, can decide to click on edit and go to give him a role. Or I can come here, look at, okay, this is a job title, is in legal department, this is the profile info, and it's the role is advocator. Okay, so if that is it, the next thing is I can, if I feel that this information here is well good and is enough, I can just click on finish adding. So at this point, I have finished adding this user called Benjamin Uju. So I'll just click on close. So before I click on close, so what happens is that I'll click on show up, but I don't want to click on that so that the password does not get exposed to you. But this detail is what you copy and send to the user, right? That you should go ahead and sign in. So now I'm going to copy this username, which is this one. Already I know the password and I don't want to reveal that. So I'm just going to click on close. So the next thing that will happen is that let me bring up my browser, incognito browser. So when this user is resuming in the organization that first day, so what it's going to do is going to do office.com after you've given him his laptop. Then it's going to click on that. So what happens is they will click on sign in here. So we are having that user resuming the very first day, and then it's going to do V, right? So this is the user, and then it's going to sign in. So I'm going to type in the password. So if I do this now, so what will happen is, excuse me, did I get that wrong? Oh yeah, I got it wrong. So it should be right now. This still wrong. Okay. So I don't want to struggle with it. Okay. I just want to come and change it. Okay, it can even happen, right? Like whatever that you see happening on this call is normal thing that can happen. So at this point, the user's password is wrong. So the user can come to you as an IT guy to say, I cannot sign in. So what are you going to do? Remember, you are still onboarding this user. So you come to Benjamin's sign in. You can search with his email address, and then it's just bringing him up for you. So what you can do, if you are so sure that what you did was correct, so you can come here. You see reset password here. So you can type in the, the password there. So I'm changing it, right? And then I want to require him to, that I can click on reset. So I'll close, I'll bring back I'll tell you, okay, try to sign in again. I've just changed the password, and then I'll send a new password to him. Okay, you come. So if you hit on this, and then it's going to work. Now, because you had checked that the users will change their password when they first sign in. Okay, so what happens now is it needs to enter the current password. And then it now enters the password that he wants to be using now. Okay, so he has entered this. So if this password is complex enough, okay, let me even do something so that you can see what's happening. Some users are very funny. So if you ask them to sign, they will now be thinking, what password am I going to use? And the guy now come and say, now he has changed the password, right? So let's see what happens. Now, we've seen this password too many times before. Choose something harder to guess. So what is happening here is that this user, because most users are lazy, they want to enter very simple thing. You know, that excitement of getting a new job, right? It will make them to be in a hurry to forget a lot of things. So some of them are more conscious. So they want to be entering like very simple passwords that does not meet the requirement or that do not meet the requirement. The system will always flag them, no, this is not allowed. And then they come back and say, okay. And they come back to say, okay, come in, I'm just trying to change something. Um, and then you also come here. I'm telling you what users can actually do. Now look at what will happen here again. You can see password, this password don't match. So what is happening is that the password they entered here and the password they entered here is wrong. I mean, they are not matching. You, who is going to be like the IT guy now, will tell him that no, you cannot be entering passwords that are first not complex, two that are not strong enough. So as we go on, like in the later part of this our trainings, I'll be bringing up a conversation around password complexities and how to calculate passcores of passwords. We'll do that because I think I recorded videos on that on my different platforms where I spoke about and I did demos on how to eliminate bad passwords. So now what you do is you can tell the user to use a phrase, right, to do the password. Yet I still will not show the password on this particular recorded session. So I'm just going to give like a password that is a bit complex that I feel that should go through. So for as disclaimer for YouTube, this user is just a fictitious user and the passwords are not being exposed. So let's see if this passes now that I've given it a password. So yes, he will click on this and then he can sign in. So of course, you now know already, depending on the applications that the license that he has will give him access to, we see here when it goes to the app launcher. So what are you seeing here? You are seeing welcome to Microsoft 365. With Microsoft 365 for work, you can create, organize, and collaborate all in one place. Create and safely store your files in the cloud. Intuitively organize your content and securely share files with your team. Easily collaborate on work in real time with users and with users in and outside of your organization. You can come to this. You can see this time to put up Microsoft 5 work, then Pillars Concept Technologies Limited, and then has set up a premium Microsoft 365 subscription for you when you launch your this. So this is welcoming you to the system, right? So you can do this just so this is your first time signing right into your environment. So this is how it can look like, okay? And then it has access to just the apps that it was given access to, the Power Automate and then the Power Pages, which is a function of the license that this user has. So if he's going to be working on Power Pages, of course, he can now go on and maybe the guy, I don't know what he's doing, because Power Pages are mostly for developers, right? So he can start to do what he has been given access to do. But mind you, he has access to Power Pages, he has access to this, but he does not have access to Word, to Excel, to PowerPoint, and to all of that. This is because of the type of license that has been assigned to this user. So this is we creating users. So if you come here to click on this, I think we've done this also already. If you come to view accounts, you will discover that you have all that has to do with this user accounts. And then this is like the guy in your environment. His name is Benjamin. So you've got a new worker and the guy is now onboarded. So you have fulfilled the task that HR has given you. But just in case this user is supposed to be in, like, let's say there are groups in your environment that this user need to be at. I mean, maybe there are like Teams group or maybe some groups that are things are happening, a legal group in the organization. So what you do is you can come to Benjamin again and then come to manage groups, just so you can say assign members, and then you look for the group that he needs to be a member of. Let's say there is mitigation sites, a migration site rather, then there is enterprise voice users, and then just in case there are groups in the organization that this guy needs to also be part of, this is where you come to select all those group. It's not in tech, definitely. Let's say he's going to join test, and then what you do is you click on add. So what happens is that that user become member of those groups, and all the activities that are going on there, he will now be aware of it. So manage group failed. One, guest enterprise voice. So I know why this has possibly failed, because he has been successfully added to 3 different groups. The one failed, and this is perhaps because that's maybe a dynamic group that I don't want us to like put our hands into right now. But the good thing is that the user is now in 3 different groups as we speak. So if you come to his account, you will see that the groups that it belongs to is one is ABC of Cloud Migration Site, and then the pre M35 organize the org-wide group. So this I did not add him to org-wide group, but you can see that he's now a member of org-wide group. Org-wide group is a group that automatically add everybody that is resuming, or every account that you are creating in that environment, the account automatically get added to an org-wide group. So which I am not at this point going to also stress. But remember that we had 3 people that are resuming. We had Chidima. Chidima is in accounting. Chidima Ojuku is in accounting. So what is the other way that you as an IT administrator can decide to create user? You can now choose for yourself which one is easier, right? So if you come to cmd.ms, depending on your access, you should have the Microsoft Entra, which is the first URL here, entra.microsoft.com, will land you in what is called the Identity Admin Center, the Microsoft Identity Admin Center. So when you come to this admin center, no one is inferior to the other, but just depend on preference. Some persons can decide to do it from M365. Some other persons can decide to do that same onboarding that you just did from um, the Entra Admin Center, or what is called the Identity Admin Center. So what you can do also is to come to users, and then when you drop this, you can go to all users. So if you come down to all users, so what you're going to have is you have options here to add a user. So the user is resuming. So what you're going to do is to just click on this and then click on like the first option here, the invite external user. Will deal with this later. So we'll just click on this, and then when we click, the next point is that it will ask, what is the user principal name? I told the user principal name is the username of the user, which most time doubles as the email address. So now we have somebody resuming, and the name is Chidima Ojuku. So you may want to put the display name here first, depending on what you are doing. So you may want to say, okay, Chidima Ojuku. So that's the name, right? You can decide now to bring up here the user, the UPN, which is the email address of the user. So chidima.ojuku at pillarscloud.com.ng. This is the user's principal name, right? And then the mail nickname, of course, is not optional for you to derive from user principal name. So now the display name is this, which we typed, and then passwords is at this point auto-generated for you. Okay, so the only option you have, if you also don't want to auto-generate the password, you can as well uncheck this, which is more like what we did in the other one, and then we can decide to say, okay, is a password for this user. But here you don't even need, there's no option for you to deselect user must change password on their first sign in. If you create a user from the Entra admin center, a user or the user must change their password upon first signing. And that's very key, right? For you to know. Now, here is showing account enabled, the account status. Now, I will explain something to you here. So let's say the user that will make instance of this user is resuming on the 1st, and we are creating this account on the 30th or some days before. If you let this checked, the account is going to be enabled. So what it means is that the user will be able to sign in. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to uncheck this. So what that means is that the account is not enabled. So the account is created, but this account does not have the capacity, or should not have the capacity, to sign in, because we still have some few days before the user would come. So I've supplied this detail. So I'll come to the next one here that speaks to the properties. That is the first name, the last name, like what I showed you in the previous admin center. First name, last name is not compulsory. So you can decide to put it here. You can decide to leave it, but it is usually better to have it there, so you can, because it is a display name that is more important. That's why you see the display name is coming out. So let's come back here and put in like the first name, which is Chidima, and then the last name, which is Ojuku. So now the authorization info, these are now granular things that speaks to the job title, the company name, the department. Of course, they told us that Chidima Ojuku is in finance. So we want to write here finance. So that's the department that the user is in finance. Then if you have details from the HR that speaks to the employee ID, the employment hire date. So if you want to put the date that the user was hired, today, you can put it there, and it should just be there. So you will always be able to reference this date as the date of hire of that user. And then where the user resuming is in Lagos. Then if you know the user's manager, you can also put this. So if you put user manager, so what that actually does is where you have, this is where organogram is being built from. So let me just, for those who do not know what organogram is, so if you put the person's manager here, so what's going to happen is that there'll be a system to say, okay, this is the user's manager. So the user is Chidima is working with this manager here, manager one, right? And then maybe there's another finance person too is working under that manager, which means is that Chidima and the person are working under one manager. So so again, if Chidima is managing another person, you will see that there's a spread out. So with what that does, the manager part of this whole game, how it works is to help you to know like the hierarchical flow of the organization, to know, okay, this is from this from this finance head of finance, maybe this is the CTO, chief, I mean it's not CTO, CFO, chief financial officer of the organization. And maybe there's another arm here, which is the the CTO, that is chief technological officer, and the two of them are probably reporting to the CEO of the organization, and then it flows down so that CEO of the organization and then CTO, which is the chief technology officer, is under the CEO, and then the CFO, which is the chief financial officer, is under the CEO. But from the CEO, you have like Chidima, who is like this is like the head of finance or maybe the finance lead, and then there's another person here that is maybe the procurement lead, and the two of them are working under the manager who is in finance. And if these persons happen to have people also work under them, then you'll just have that organogram building. And when you go to teams, you will easily be able to see who is working with who. So this is where you start to do that. So immediately you click on this. When you click on this, it will bring up the list of the existing user in your environment. And if Chidima is going to be working under Benjamin that we just created, then you can select it this way. So what it means is that Benjamin is going to be Chidima's manager. So it's good. The reporting line is going to now like come up just as I've shown you. So what it means is that this is Chidima here. I mean, this is now going to be like Benjamin, and then Chidima is going to be here under Benjamin. Let's say there's another person here working. So this is how organogram is being built, and that is where this is important, just so there can be like a chart flow from teams to see who is who. And just in case we'll go like very further to see like access review and entitlement management, then we'll see where managers will have to approve somebody access to maybe a particular resource, and this comes handy at that point. But then it is not compulsory. So I was just trying to show you that. So you can talk about the fax number. If the person has like an external email address, maybe the person's Gmail, then the phone number of the person, the zip code of the area, the country or region, you can put all of those street addresses and all of that there, just so, and then the location and all of that. So another point is the assignment. So this is where you, if the person is going to be in a group, this is where like what we did for the other guy after we have created the account. So if the user is going to be in ABC of cloud, is going to be in migration site like the other person, and then going to be maybe on Copilot, pilot users or Copilot license group, then we just do this. Then it means that we've added all the groups that is going to be a member of in the organization. And then if the person is going to have like an IT role, you can also click on role to look at the drop down the directory roles that you have in the environment, and you choose to say, okay, what department again is Chidima? Chidima is in finance, if I remember from our, let me quickly bring this up just so we can keep track of what we are doing. So Chidima is in finance. So since Chidima is okay, Chidima is in accounting. So let's say he does not have like any, he does not need any IT role, but if he needs any IT role, you can scroll down here and see any role that fits that it needs to have access to. But then it is not compulsory again to give role if the person is not going to carry out any IT role. So, and then we'll click on review and create. So that means the second user, the second user, we're going to click on review. What that means is that we have Ojuku, and then we have Chidima Ojuku. We have the details here. This is the password I set, which I'm not going to expose for the purpose of this recording. And then we'll have the first name as Chidima, the last name is Ojuku, and then the user type is member. And then remember that we have disabled Chidima's account. So we'll just hit on. Now, if you look at it again, down below, manager is this, and then the date of employment is this, and then it's in finance department. That is fine. So we'll just hit on create. Now, if we go to look for Chidima, I just want to show you something. Look at something. So if I click on Chidima now, and then come down here, I will see that the account is showing red. The account is disabled. So I created the user from the Entra Admin Center. So if I come back here, remember Benjamin already, we have seen Benjamin here. So if I also refresh this side, I will also see Chidima coming on for me. So I can hit on this refresh, and then Chidima now is already showing here, because of course they're having handshake within the repository. If you look at this, it's saying sign in blocked, and then here is saying what, user disabled. That was because I unchecked the box while I was creating this user. So if I bring in this user's email address, like I want to sign in as the user, I think we had this guy here, so we can sign out as Benjamin. So sign in with a different account. So I want to add this. If I do this and I do this, I hope I still remember the password I set for him. Okay, so yeah, the password worked, but if you look at it, it's saying your account has been blocked. Contact your support person to unlock it, then try again. This you are seeing is because the account is showing disabled here, right? And also, if you come here, you would also see that the account is showing sign in blocked. Let me click so that it can be the red sign. You can see it. Constraint sign in blocked, right? So now you can decide to unblock the account either from here by clicking on edit. And then when we click on edit, what it means is that the option is just giving you is that you are going to check this box to say you enable it, and then you click on save, because remember when we were creating the account, we did not check this box. Or you can come to the M35 admin center here and then click on unlock account. So if you click on unlock account, what you need to do is to uncheck. Now you see the difference here. You are going to uncheck and save. Here you are going to check and save. So it depends on your preference. The both of them are going to do the same work. So if I'm going to do that from here, so if I do this from here now, and this account is showing enabled here, if I come here and then I do not do anything here, and then I come to refresh this, and then look for bring Chidima's account up again, this is just going to take like a little while, and then the account is going to show that this, you can see that that's disabled is no longer showing up here. This is because Chidima's account has been activated already. And now we have done our work, but this will regularly take around 15 minutes to work. So let's just again go back, and then let's try to put in Chidima's email address and then put her password. So it's possible that it's a bit faster, and it worked, right? So it didn't even take up to that long time. So we are going to put in so the same thing, and then we're going to put new password. And then so if you do this now, you find out that the password is going to change, right? So now we have the user successfully signed in here, and then we'll have the overview. You have more accounts, and then you just click on cancel. If you check here, you find out that it is Chidima Ojuku's account that is signed in. So if you do if you go office.com in this regard, so if this account comes in with Chidima's detail, okay, this is still Benjamin Ojo. So let's sign in with a different account. So that time is catching this also. So we can pick that account up, and then let's get in and see. So for this, of course, we did this in the previous one. You will see that if he clicks here, he's not going to see like the Power Pages and the Power Automate that we see the other one. Of course, you know why now, because the user is not a licensed user at all. So that's why we have this. So this is where onboarding user one from the Entra Admin Center, and secondly, we've onboarded user from the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Now, if you look at this, actually, we still have one user left, and that user is Bamidele Oga, right? So that user too needs to be created. It's a matter of preference. You can decide to, which we are going to do later when we get to PowerShell. You can decide to use PowerShell, the MS Sol online to create this account. But if I bring in PowerShell at this stage, it may frighten some few persons. But let's leave that aside and focus on how best again to create this user. So another way we can decide to do this is still coming to these active users. So if you come to active user, you come to, instead of adding a user, right? Let's say, for example, you wanted to add this user in a multiple way, which is what I'm still going to treat like a much later time. It could even be that as early as next week, we'll be looking at how to add multiple users. Now that we have three, instead of doing it one after the other, we could actually do that once. So while I know that we need to have this to add multiple users, but I just want to quickly say that we can create that user account here too. And what's that user's name? The user is Bamidele Oga. So we'll just do it here. I will say Bamidele, and then the person is Oga, and then the next thing is username is Bamidele.Oga, right? So let's just leave it that way. Then you can choose your domain from here too. So without further ado, if you have more people, which is what we could do that time, right? But don't worry, we'll come to multiple user creation next time. So I'm just putting only that user just to show you that you can as well do it this way. So you can do next, and then it takes it. The point is now you already know the location. If we need license, we can give him, and then if we don't, we can say create without user license. Now, if you look at what happens in the Entra Admin Center, we just created and automatically it's created as a non-licensed user. Before now, there used to be a way you could give license to user from the Entra Admin Center, but that was removed. That's why any user you are creating from the M35 admin, from the Entra Admin Center is first of all not going to have license assigned to his account. So you now have to come to M35 to give license to the user. But if you are creating a user from the M35 Admin Center and you don't want him to have license, then before you can move ahead, you must select don't assign license. Not recommended, but of course, that's what we want to do. So if you click on next, so this is still again user to add. It's just one user. License, but there's no license. License assigned, there's no one. So you can click on add user. Now the user has been added, and mind you, it has been given like an auto-generated password. There was no option for me to state the password I want to give to the user. It gave him an auto-generated password, which I don't want to show. And then it has the email address, and then it has the display name here. So the same way we have done that, Bamidele can just go and then pick up this account and then sign into the M35 Admin Center as a fresh account. So now, how does it even look like? I have taken step forward to show you how the flow is. The conversation is usually from HR, and then it will come to the the IT department to provision users, and then the users will sign into the M35 Admin Center. And this is how most organizations have their flows for those that are in the cloud only. So if I come now and whatever I want to do, if I'm looking for Benjamin, Chidima, or Bamidele, what I would just do is to come to the list of active users. And if I need to work on Chidima's account, let's say Chidima's password issue, I'll just come to Chidima and then I'll have Chidima accounts here. If I also want to go to Benjamin, I can just go to Ben, and then I will have Benjamin's account to work on. And if I also want to work on who's the last person, Bamidele's account, the same thing will work. I will just come to Bamidele, and then I'll bring Bamidele's account up. So this is what we can cover for today. We want to at this point have people matched, and then we'll have your account created and then give you admin role, just so what we have done now, between now and when the class was supposed to end, you can sit back and then have a repro of this. And if you have issues, you can report those on the group. So thank you very much for your time. I'm going to stop the recording now.